Viscosity is definitely an important piece of the overall product you're using, right? And that doesn't matter whether it's waterborne, solvent. Viscosity is how things are measured even within the P-sheet. Viscosity really refers to the thickness and how the product flows. There's what's called a Zahn cup. It's a little metal cup with a hook, and you actually dip it into the paint and you measure how fast the product flows through this cup that has a hole in it. And depending on how fast it flows, that gives you your viscosity level. And why is that important? Viscosity is really like how everything's benchmarked, right? So if the dry time's 60 minutes and it's at a certain viscosity level, those are all kind of in line with one another. So where and why is that important? If you're in extreme climates or climates that change periodically day to day or during the day, it's important to kind of think through that, because adding and removing solvent from your coating will affect its viscosity. More solvent will thin out the product. Less solvent will thicken it up. And it's important to kind of think through those things, because that's going to affect the overall dry time. And solvent really is just a carrier vehicle. Solvent is what allows the pigment and resins to flow through the gun and transfer onto the substrate, and then those solvents evaporate, leaving the coating that will eventually cross-link and cure. So thinking through those things as far as like how viscous the product is will help your overall performance. If in New England, where I'm from, it gets really cold in the winter. So products become thicker when they're colder. Just kind of common sense, right? Like ice freezes, it gets harder. Products get colder and more thick, which means that they're a little bit different to work with than in the summer. The summer, things just flow easy breezy out of the gun. So it's important to think through those things and use your solvent, how you're reducing things, like even mixing paint while we were filming this. It was kind of a consideration, like in California, how do you reduce? Like, what are you using? What are your percentages? What are your ratios? Because they could be different across different climate zones. So if a product is more viscous, it means that it's a little bit thicker. That'll affect dry time. So if you're noticing that a product isn't performing the way it's supposed to on a P-sheet, it could be that the viscosity is a little bit off. And viscosity, again, can be affected by temperature, so it is something to kind of think through. If something's taking a little bit too long to dry, it could be a viscosity problem. And really that's just measuring it's honey versus water, right? If it